and welcome to Just Onside. It's been a tough week. You know why, Ois. I've been speaking to you offline. My legs have gone, but that's a private matter that no doubt we'll indulge later on. But I'm a little bit all over the place at the moment, as you well know. How are you, though?
I'm good, Ayub. Thank you so much. Monday in the books, always difficult, but in the books, doing okay. Getting home at a reasonable hour now, so it's not too problematic. But yeah, doing fine. Thank you so much. How are things with yourself?
Yeah, as I said, it's best not to sort of dirty linen in public and all that. But
Well,
it's
let's
been a
talk
rough
about.
few days. It's been a rough few days. But in terms of Leeds United, that's the saving grace. You know that Leeds means a lot to me. So last Monday, I actually went to the last home game against
You
Bristol
did.
City. Unbelievable. Honestly, the atmosphere was electric. I mean, everybody was in party mood. It's always nice knowing full well that you've been promoted. But so there was an expectation that Leeds
Hmm.
would put on a show. They weren't playing with too much concern. Obviously, the job had been done, but it just showed how good this side can be when they play with freedom. They expressed themselves. They were magnificent, absolutely magnificent. From minute one to minute 90 or minute 92, 93, they were absolutely outstanding. 4-0, that flatters. I mean, that really doesn't flatter us. It could have been 7, 8. Uh, Lots of good performances. The standout was Manor Solomon. He was absolutely magnificent. I mean, you can tell that he's Premier League quality. We were sitting quite close to the action, so in a sense, you were up close and personal. And he plays on the left wing. We were quite close to the left wing. He had their right back on toast. He could go either way. Absolutely magnificent. A wonderful performance, a wonderful last home game. It really was celebratory. And the icing on the cake is that we won on Saturday as well. My goodness me, it was close. Took it to the 91st minute, and it had to be Manor Solomon. And that's what you get these Premier League players for the big moments, and he delivered. So it was absolutely outstanding. A really, really good season. I've had doubts, I've had concerns, I've had obviously issues where I've criticised Fark. Maybe this is not the time to criticise Fark. Maybe this is the time to praise Fark. 100 points. I mean, a wonderful goal difference, but really an outstanding season, not just by
Yeah.
us, but by Burnley as well. I mean, you've got to give credit to Scotty Parker. I mean, George is absolutely thrilled, and rightly so. But to have two teams finish on 100 points. I mean, would you think that if you got 100 points, uh, you wouldn't finish first? I mean, that's how
Yeah.
outstanding we were. Uh, Sheffield United finished third with 90 points. I mean, they had two deducted. I think 90 points and 93. It's and even at the bottom as well, there was various permutations. Even our beloved Blackburn at one stage. I mean, if they had a scored the winner,
Gutted.
yeah, because we did our job against Bristol City. We actually beat them
Yeah.
quite heavily, so it
Yeah.
impacted their goal difference. Preston, my hometown team or my home city team, were doing a job, and then Blackburn just let us down. They let us down.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get onto that briefly because it is a talking point. Saturday, I went to Abu Dhabi to spend a bit of time with a friend, a good friend of ours, who's living there, and I thought I'd kind of watch the games, the games over there at his, and as we did, quite a relaxing Saturday. And obviously, we were all tuned into Hoping Rovers, Blackburn Rovers, which is my hometown club, your hometown club. You've still got a bit of a soft spot, I know you have. And it was all set up, wasn't it? And I was following the result of you from the Bristol City game because there were so many elements to it for those who are interested. Kind of from a Rovers perspective, really needed Leeds to beat Bristol City on Monday to keep Burnley
Mm,
engaged in terms of wanting to win the championship. Because Burnley, I think, were playing Millwall, weren't they? Who
yeah,
started the day on sixth. So we needed Burnley to still feel as though we can still win the championship, which is something Scott Parker would have wanted to do. Let's be
yeah,
very clear. Once promotion's guaranteed, you still want to win the championship. So that happened. Leeds won at a canter game you were at. Incredible scenes with the scarves and what have you. So it was a wonderful occasion. Celebratory is the perfect word that you used to sum the occasion up. So everything went perfectly. Then you've got obviously the fact that Rovers are going away to Sheffield United, who are locked into third place. Now, Sheffield United had every right, if they wanted to, and I don't know what the lineup was, to just rest everyone if they really
mm,
wanted to, because there was nothing to be gained, really.
yeah.
In some ways, other than rhythm, I guess you could argue, before the first leg, which I think is played this midweek. So,
They play Thursday.
with all of that in mind, you just thought, oh, everything's fallen. Coventry playing Borough. Rovers, I always felt that if they won the game, they were going to be in the playoffs because
Mm,
just the way the games are set up, because I sensed Bristol City would beat Preston. Now, it didn't transpire. Preston were doing a great job, brought it back to 2-2. Bristol City did. But I just sensed with it all, the way it was just going along, I thought Burnley will beat Millwall, and just because they'll be still engaged to win the championship, and Rovers just had to go and win that game. Now I say just, they were playing a team that's probably also deserving of getting promoted. Let's be very clear in terms of the points total that they had, but it just wasn't the case. And at the end, I heard there was a good chance near the end. The header that went just wide. I was just hoping for a Rovers goal, and
mm,
it's been the case for Rovers, hasn't it? It's so near yet so far, to some respects. So they've not been good enough over 46 games. They had a wobble a couple of months ago, as is often the case post January, but just a bitter blow, as you would say, Ayub,
mm,
because you're essentially one little ricochet or
mm.
deflection away from being in the playoffs, and then, as you know, anything goes. They would have been underdogs against Sheffield United, but such was the case. But congratulations to Sheffield United, Coventry, Bristol City, and is it Sunderland? I think
Yeah, so yeah.
who are in the playoffs. Sheffield United will still fancy it, but I watched the Coventry Borough game, and Coventry looked tidy. So let's see how that shakes out. Who would be your pick, Ayub, to get promoted?
It has to be Sheffield United. I mean, they are if they've got the if their players are fit, they've got probably the strongest starting 11 out of the four sides. They have got a little bit more quality, and they finished on 90 points. So really, I mean, it shows that they are a very decent outfit. Uh, I mean, I'm gutted for Blackburn for a reason because I mean they did. I mean, it's been a very erratic, inconsistent season. They've had the change of manager as well. John Eustace was very well respected, very good coach.
Yeah.
He left. It sort of it put the I mean, it sort of derailed
Yes.
Blackburn to some degree. Ishmael came, and he, he's a coach that has has had far more downs than ups. I mean, he's had very few ups. I mean, I think he was all right at Barnsley. I mean, I think
West
his
Brom. Yeah.
spell at Watford wasn't too clever. Uh, so it was. I mean, it was going nowhere really. I mean, in all honesty, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I
Yep.
thought that he probably wouldn't even last out
The end
the
of the season.
season.
Yeah.
Uh, but somehow he's turned it round. What I would say about Blackburn, they have some good players. I mean, I don't know whether it's slightly affected by the fact that every time that they played us, or when I've seen them play against us, they've been
Mm-hmm.
outstanding. I mean, I went to Ewood Park and they played us off the park. Seriously, they played us off the park. We've not beaten them this season. They've got a sprinkling of quality. I mean, Todd Cantwell, he's one of those players, maybe too good for the Championship, but not quite good enough for the Premier League. They've
He would
got a
have
guy
he would have
called
played under Falcon, no, at Norwich.
yeah, at Norwich, yeah. So, and they've got a Japanese striker. I mean, I forget his name, but he's a real bruiser, really, really good sort of solid Championship play. Puts himself about a bit, scores the odd goal. I mean, he actually, I think, scored at the weekend.
Yeah, sadly, yeah.
And they've got a guy called Dolan who's absolutely breathtaking down the wing. I mean, he's one of these sort of hit and miss, hot and
Mm.
cold players. When he's on, he really is on. And I thought that if they get to the playoffs, I would have actually fancied their chances because they're as good as any in that sort of group. So bitterly disappointed, but maybe I suppose in the long run it gives. I mean, it certainly gives. It's a stay of execution for Ishmael, just in case there was any doubt. I think that last run perhaps just gives the
Yeah.
board a little bit of confidence, so he's certainly safe for next season. At least you'd think that.
Yeah.
But Sheffield United for me, I hope. I mean, the way that I'm looking at it is, uh, for next season we need to be better than three sides. Now, in theory, you always want to be better than two of the promoted sides. So I'm thinking Burnley, yeah, perhaps will be better than them. Uh, Coventry, the reason, I mean, I want them to go up because of Frankie. I've got a lot of time for Frankie. But the problem is, if Coventry go up, Frankie's got such a profile that he'll probably be able to attract much better players, which then makes it difficult for us. So I'm hoping it's Bristol City that go up, only because if they
Selfish
go up,
reason.
they're going to be one of the weaker sides. So
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
just then need to find one side to be better than.
As you often say, I'm sure you'll regurgitate your comments about Luton sightseeing if Bristol City were to make it back into the were to make it into the Premier League. I mean, a couple of points just very quickly there. You spoke about Coventry City. Uh, you're hopeful that because you've had a soft spot for Frank Lampard for quite some
Mm,
time. Obviously, broke your hearts in that famous
Yeah, yeah, the old
yes,
yeah.
indeed, with Mason Mount, I believe as well. But that was a tough, brutal defeat at the time. I think Bielsa was in charge, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
Uh,
Spygate, weren't it? That was
Spygate,
famous. Yeah, yeah.
same season,
Yeah,
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 absolutely. But yeah, you've got a soft spot for Frankie Lampard. The problem I've got is that if Coventry City get promoted to the Premier League, I've also got to put up with Richard Keys in this part of the world,
oh yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. All Keysy.
yeah, who's a huge Coventry City fan. So he's tough to swallow at the best of times. So let's just
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah.
just leave it at that. He'll be chomping at the bit. The other thing is obviously I think a good friend of mine, you know him as well, Yasser Sufi. He's head of commercial at Blackburn Rovers. Big role for him there at Blackburn Rovers. Disappointed for him. He speaks to me often about what it means, some of the day-to-day runnings of Blackburn Rovers, and he's mentioned to me many times in terms of what it actually means on the ground if a team makes it to the Premier League, and in terms of what generally tends to happen in terms of growth and what have you. So hugely disappointing for them. Just very quickly, you just to finish off the topic about Leeds and the Championship. A lot of rumours about your manager, obviously, in recent days. Most informed journalists believe that your hierarchy was seeking out potential replacements for Daniel Farker. Obviously, just yesterday, I think the chairman's come out and said he's quote unquote my man with a
Mm,
short statement. But I think there was some talk about how getting rid of him at this time would have A, cost them a lot, and B, would have perhaps given the wrong message, or at least that was some of the
mm.
commentary. Just one last statement from the chairman, I believe I read in the morning, was he spoke about how they're going to spend every last penny trying to keep themselves in the Premier League, which I guess for yourself as a fan of you who's desperate for Leeds to finish 17th and above would have been good to hear.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think in terms of what the 49ers will do, I'm sure they'll they'll invest. But the key is it's not just about investment. I mean, many clubs that have come up have invested sometimes sort of north of 100 million. But that's no guarantee. I mean, we've discussed this before as to
Mm.
what the formula is. I mean, it obviously is very complicated because if you look at the history tells you that virtually sides that come up will always go down because the gulf is enormous. I don't think it's ever been as big as it is now. I mean, I looked at about 2.5, 3 months ago when Wolves were just above the relegation zone. And I was thinking at that time that that Wolves side in that championship, if they came to the championship, that same Wolves side, they'd absolutely batter. I'd reckon they would probably win 40 games out of 46. That's how good they are in comparison to the championship. So it's huge, it's monstrous,
Mm.
and this is where it really needs smart sort of decisions. I mean, I've taught. I think in one of the podcasts I sort of said John McGinn, but it's more a case of that type of profile. I think what I'd be looking at is players with Premier League experience, and there's enough fringe players within the Premier League that are chomping at the bit to have the opportunity. Maybe they just get the odd minute here and there for their clubs at this moment in time. So it's making sure that you pick players that have the right mentality, the right experience, because you have to. You just can't take a gamble and spend 50, 60 million, 70 million, 100 million in total bringing players from overseas and think that they're going to hit the ground running. It's very, very difficult. So this is where I'm hoping that the 49ers uh, take a step back and really look at right what is the most effective strategy. I mean, there's no guarantees because even if you go for experience, but at the end of the day, what you want to do is give yourself the best shout. The best shout would be right. Let's make sure that we've got players with the right mentality. That's absolutely key because it's going to be a dogfight.
Mm. Mm.
Most of the games we're going to be on the back foot. So you have to accept that the last 2 years we've been on the front foot. We've been scoring goals for fun. We've been winning games. That's the norm. That's what Ellen Road is used to. It's going to be the complete reverse. It's
Yeah.
almost, I almost sort of think that for every 10 games, you've got to try and look to pick up about 12 to 13 points. So you've got to be very pragmatic. You've got to have players who really have that sort of mentality, and you have to have experience. So that's what I'm looking for. I hope that that's the way that they're going to approach it.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult, but as I said, I don't want us to be a yo-yo club. I want us to establish ourselves in the Premier League. The first couple of seasons maybe is just sort of making sure that you are better than three clubs in that league.
Yeah, I mean, a yo-yo goes up and down. There's not going to be too many ups next year. I'll just prepare you for that. There's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of downs. But I know you're talking about promotion, relegation. Of course you are. I'll let you set up our topics. I mean, normally I would say that that's way too much talk for Championship football, but you're no longer in the Championship,
Yeah,
Ayub.
well,
So
Premier League, yeah.
I've got to indulge you a little bit more than I normally would. So I'll let you set us up. But it's good to have Leeds in the Premier League, my friend.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there's a lot of people who are sort of sharing that sentiment. A lot of people are just sort of saying, well, at least that 6 points guaranteed.
I was going to say, and a lot of fantasy football enthusiasts, I must say. Yeah.
Oh my word. Triple captain against Leeds. I think that'll probably be a record. Right. We're talking about champions, Leeds. We'll talk about some other champions,
Wow.
champions of the Premier
How
League.
long did it take for you to think of that segue?
Right. So there's a couple of stories. Obviously, Liverpool being champions. I mean, it's we knew this. God knows. I mean, about 6, 7 weeks ago. But and also there was another, the worst kept secret. Trent Arnold. I mean, he's it's all official now. I mean, we all knew it, but it's all official now that he will be donning the Real Madrid white next season. So what's your thoughts? I mean, it's been a strange all season. I mean, I've talked about it being one of the most boring campaigns that we've probably known over the last 10, 12, 15 years. But it's probably the highest standard. So what do you think of Liverpool's performance and what do you think of Trent Arnold? I mean, it's is it the right move? Do you think he's going to go on to bigger and better things? Take it away, my friend.
Yeah, just very quickly, we wanted to speak about Liverpool being champions. We haven't had that chance. Obviously, you're away as well, Ayub. I think it's deserving in the sense that we do a little piece on them. Look, the champions of England, that's what all the big clubs, Ayub, start out in terms of their expectations. You often speak about KPIs for football clubs. This would have been the KPI for Liverpool Football Club, although many of their fans, and perhaps even some of the hierarchy, would have thought, well, after Klopp's left, let's just see if we can stabilize ourselves and then go again. But the great Jurgen Klopp, you've left that squad in a very good state ultimately, and it didn't set them up in a sense that they had to kind of rebalance the squad or transition and rebuild and what have you. And Arne Slot has taken that and obviously put his own slant on things. I mean, this is perhaps as good a transition as you're going to get in terms of one legendary manager at a huge football club, leaving the club in good hands. I would say in terms of the squad being pretty strong. A few players who perhaps came the year before starting to settle in the makeup of the squad. And yes, there were some, I wouldn't say fortunate elements. Of course, the team for the most part has remained strong and healthy. Man City obviously took a step back, but I don't think that's fortunate from a Liverpool perspective. Ultimately, Liverpool did what they had to do, which is win a lot of football games, putting a lot of pressure on Man City, on Arsenal, and the others. So, an incredible effort by Liverpool. I thought the standard was so high, especially for the first half of the season. I think to some extent, that's when the season for me title was won. In those first kind of 20 odd games, I was insistent that this was not a Premier League title race. I watched Arsenal every single game. I knew that the gap would get wider because of some clear faults that Arsenal had. And the great thing about Liverpool Football Club, at least when I watched them this season, I don't know about yourself, is there was a relentless commitment to score goals. And that type of mentality, I think, wins your leagues because over the course of 38 games, you have a bit more margin for error. And when you're always going for goals, going for chances, moving forward all the time, looking to put the opposition under pressure. Over time, if you've got elite level talent, which Liverpool do, that's just going to tell over time. There's an incredible statistic about the number of games. I think it's about 19. I could be wrong with that. The 19 Premier League games where Arsenal have scored 1 or 0 goals. And that's been proven to be the case in terms of their shortcomings recently because you're always leaving yourself exposed to a penalty, a deflection, a random moment, as one of the articles put it that I read, which was a fantastic article, which is sometimes random things happen, a bad red card, a fortuitous moment, a throw in headed in, all the rest of it. So when you're not giving yourselves enough margin for error when it comes to chance creation and goals scored, you're going to leave yourself short. Liverpool, I thought, were just incredible. I thought world class players. Salah has an argument for one of the greatest seasons ever. Yeah, it's gone a little bit cold in recent times when the title's been won, but an incredible season from him in terms of goal contributions. Last but not least, and we'll come on to it in the second stanza, the manager, incredible managerial kind of in terms of his execution of what the season's brought. A lot of managers you would come into this either underplay the squad to say, look, we're not ready, all the rest of it, to try and take some of the pressure off. But I think he's embraced the pressure of being Liverpool manager, and I think every single press conference, every single post-match interview, he struck the absolute right tone. I think the only time, and I wouldn't even say this was wrong, I actually thought this was, even for that moment, was the perfect kind of tone was when, if you remember, he had that moment with Michael Oliver post game. I think it was after the Everton game. I could be wrong, but I remember he was obviously quite aggressive with his handshake. He got a bit of a telling off from the FA, but I think even that kind of encapsulated, in a sense, the mood of the Liverpool fans at the time, and in a sense, endeared him even more. So that's what I
Mm.
mean about just striking the right tone. About where the fans are, always in control, good commentary, says it how it is, very fair, very balanced. Didn't come in thinking it's got to be my team, my way. I'm going to change the formation. I'm going to change the players. I'm going to start, uh, as they say, digging one or two players out just so I can lay a marker down that I'm the gaffer, I'm the boss, which a lot of managers have done. Ayub.
Mm.
He's
Yeah.
just struck the right tone, praised Jurgen Klopp immediately after getting the title. That shows somebody who's very secure in their skin, knows what he's about, has full confidence in his ways. I think it's just been an incredible achievement and an incredible uh, uh, kind of a sample, I would say, of how to go about this in terms of taking over what is a legend at a football club. Just very quickly on Trent Alexander-Arnold, then I'll let you go, and I'll probably speak more about Arnold afterwards. I'm happy to hear your thoughts. I think this ultimately you came down to a player who wants to try something different, different challenge. We get one career, we get one life, and these are decisions that I said last time, Ayub, that you're just more inclined to make. I feel like the world is a more mobile place. People are willing to move. It's easier to move. It's easier to get back to Liverpool when he wants. He's not moving to the other side of the Atlantic. He's going into Europe to play for the biggest club in the world. There's no two ways
Mm.
about it. I think there is some acceptance that ultimately, if a player wants to do that, Real Madrid is the one club we could perhaps accept that you're willing to leave Liverpool for. I genuinely think it just comes down to that. He knows Liverpool are set for the big time over the coming years. He's not stupid. He's made a great contribution for Liverpool Football Club for the last 20 years, really, because he's been
Mm.
there since I think the age of 6. But you can't begrudge somebody who, for the most part, you now that we've had a bit of space to breathe, he's conducted himself in the right way. He's never, in a sense, brought himself into disrepute, said anything wrong. Um, you know, generally conducts himself in games very well. Yes, you can always talk about his defensive shortcomings, but some of the attacking stuff more than kind of allowed for that. So incredible footballer. The Premier League will be a worse place without, in my humble opinion, Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's a match winner on his day in terms of dead ball striking and all the rest of it. So he'll be a big miss for the Premier League, big miss for Liverpool. But ultimately, you can't begrudge a player who has one career and wants to make a move to try out something else.
Right. Just, I mean, well put, well said. Just on Trent Arnold. I think a lot of Liverpool fans. I mean, maybe it's just the groups that I'm on. I'm on various sort of WhatsApp groups, and there's a lot of Liverpool supporters. And now he's very much Judas now. So which is something in one way it's always a good sign because in a sense it if it hurts it means it's a good player who's going. I'm not sure if he's done it the right way. I'm not. As I said, it's one of these where I think he's done the right thing. I think. I mean, yeah. It's a wonderful life experience both in terms of sports and in terms of culture as well because it's sampling a foreign culture. It's a Madrid, it's a by all accounts a beautiful city. It is, you're right. It's one of the biggest club, if not the biggest club in world football. I don't know what it's about 100,000 as well. I mean, it's a spectacle. It's a theatre. There's some real stars there as well. I mean, Bellingham's there, and I think they're quite close, quite tight. So I'm sure
Mm.
that that sort of influenced it. But I think even if Bellingham wasn't there, I think he would have still been attractive because there's lots of players have gone there. My only concern always is that you want to leave a club, especially a club that's your boyhood club. I mean, he's a Scouser, he's a Liverpudlian. I mean, he's Liverpool through and through.
Mm.
Uh, it's been it has been the worst kept secret, and maybe perhaps this is where his advisors, which obviously he has many, this is the modern game, should have probably sort of said, look, if you want to go, just maybe just in the odd press conference, just sort of explain that it's been a wonderful time, but you do want to sample other experiences. So at least it's there's a certain openness to it. I mean, I'm not sure whether he's done that because it appears there's a lot of resentment now. You sort of feel like you want to
No,
respond to
just
that.
no. I just want to give you the floor again. I mean, how's he going to do that? They're going for the Premier League. They're going for the Champions League. Imagine he comes out in January and says, "I'm going to be leaving at the end of the season." He'd have been targeted and proclaimed as selfish. That oh, we're going for the Premier League title. We're favourites for the Champions League title, and here you are coming out telling us what you're going to be doing on a personal journey, going to Real Madrid and leaving us. And imagine if that then derails their title push or their Champions League push. He had to keep quiet. I mean, Van Dijk kept quiet, and he had, I think, every desire to sign the contract. I think he even hinted at that. But he's captain of the football club. He's thinking, look, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm going to keep doing. I just don't think I think the alternative was worse, is what I'm saying, which is
Mm.
come out, give the fans some clarity. And look, there's a thin line between love and hate, rejection. Nobody likes it. I think over time this will thaw, this will soften. But I just think the alternative was worse, which is that he would have been branded as selfish. Now, some might be brandishing him as selfish now, but I don't see how him confirming in December or January that I'm leaving at the end of the season when they are well positioned to achieve great things this season. I'm not sure how that would have been received any differently, to be honest.
I mean, it's you say that, and maybe there is a point in that because Jurgen Klopp announced 5 6 months that he was going to leave. Now, obviously, it's different. He's a coach, uh, and he wasn't leaving for another club. He was just leaving. So, but it I thought that was it was there was something that allowed then fans to maybe, I suppose, engage, and it's almost like you want to say a proper farewell, and you know that every time that he plays towards the end, that these are the last games, so there's a sense of appreciation. As I said, I mean, I don't know what fans are like generally, but as a fan, for me, I have no problem. I mean, it's football players. Uh, should want to play on the bigger stages. And I would have no hesitation. I mean, I remember back in the day, Alan Smith, one of our players, Leeds United, he went to Manchester United. I mean, historically, there's a real animosity between the two clubs, or at least a set of fans. For me, it's never been an issue. I've never been one of these tribalistic
Mm.
fans. And there was a great deal of furore with Alan Smith. I mean, we were relegated, so therefore
Mm.
he wanted to go to another club, and he went to Manchester United. I mean, these are seen as arch rivals. Now, I thought it was something that I applauded because he wanted to push and challenge himself and play for the best side. At the time, Manchester United were the best side. I have absolutely no problem. And if he'd have said that look, I'm going because this is what I have to do because I want to play at the highest level, or I want to play for a team which is challenging for honors. No problem. Same if Trent Arnold had have said, "Look, I've had 8 years, 9 years, whatever the
Mm.
duration is. Uh, I'm going to give it my all." It's same with Klopp. At the end of the day, he said it well early. Whether that was because he was forced into a corner, but that's my only point. I just sort of think that you want to close a chapter in a nice way where you can say your proper goodbyes. I mean, players leave, players have. Uh, there's been lots of times where players have sort of said, "This will be my last season at this club." I mean, KDB, we've all known that this was obviously he's at a different stage of his career,
They've
but
not offered him a new contract. It's different. I
well,
mean,
he's
it's hard to stay at the club if I don't have a contract. Last time I checked, I mean, I used to be a lawyer, but let me explain to you how contract law works at you.
Here's how he works. Oh, well, let's edit that. Right, but I still sort of
Yeah,
maintain that there are ways to leave a
yeah,
football
yeah,
club, but I just don't think he's done it the right way. Or maybe I suppose time will tell that he probably did it the right way. But for me at the moment, it's the feeling amongst many of the fans that I know is a bit resentful. So
yeah,
maybe perhaps based on that, it looks like the wrong way. Right, just on quickly,
yeah.
Liverpool. I'll just
Yes, please.
I mean you've spoken very eloquently about on his slot and how Liverpool have performed this season, and it is true. He just seems the perfect fit, and the biggest compliment I can pay to Slot is that very rarely have I heard anybody talk about Jurgen Klopp, which
Mm,
just shows how great a job this guy has done. I mean, obviously you can compare to Manchester United when everybody kept talking about Ferguson
mm.
when he'd left because of the incompetence of the new incumbents. But this guy has been outstanding. He obviously has great players who are still performing at the highest level. Wonderful season. The fact that Van Dijk and Salah are staying, they're going to probably add to that. I can't wait. My mouth is watering at the excitement that I think we'll get. I think they'll absolutely batter us. I can't wait to play them in one sense, but I think we're going to be in for a beating. But wonderful achievement, wonderful coach, and I think he really is an exceptional coach.
Yeah, I agree. Just to summarize, you're right. You can't say enough about, in a sense, the job he's done because we can't have it both ways, can we? We can't say on the one hand, if he had gone to pot, say, well, listen, he's not going to be up to snuff because he's following in the footsteps of Jurgen Klopp. It was always going to be difficult. These narratives were already set for him, weren't they?
Mm,
Even I thought it'd be tough because ultimately, when you're following in the footsteps of a great manager and a truly great manager who left Liverpool not in terms of just dwindling around sixth or seventh. I mean, they finished third, I think, in the final
mm,
season, and they weren't a million miles away. I think after 32 games, they were right there. So it's not a case of, I mean, he's left a very good squad, still plays at the peak of their powers. Van Dijk and Salah probably the two best players in the league this year, both of them coming from the same team. So he's left them in very good hands, very unselfishly moved away because by his own admission, he said, I couldn't give 100% in terms of what the energy needed to go again. I didn't have it. So he's moved aside. Whereas he could have just kept Liverpool were never going to fire him. So he could have just kept picking up a very handsome salary. So look, ultimately, I think Onoslot deserves huge plaudits. Liverpool deserve huge plaudits. You mentioned
mm,
that the campaign, because of a lack of jeopardy and a lack of uncertainty in terms of title race, in terms of relegation, what have you, that it's been somewhat, from an entertainment perspective, not great because jeopardy is what sport thrives on. The uncertainty, drama, finishes that you don't expect, defeats from the jaws of victory, and all the rest of it,
mm,
and vice versa. But that's not Liverpool's fault.
mm,
Their responsibility is to put the highest standards forward, which they have done, and the others haven't been able to keep up. So Liverpool, if they do that again next year, they'll win the league at a canter again, and Liverpool fans won't be complaining about
mm.
the spectacle. So incredible achievement by Liverpool. Number 20, as Liverpool fans will not hesitate to remind Manchester United fans. Gary Neville, by his own admission, saying that in his own view, Liverpool are the biggest club in the country now with the same amount of league titles as United, obviously many more European Cups. So incredible. They'll have a fancy night, a fancy parade in May, well deserved. And yeah, thoroughly well deserved. And they'll go again next year. They will go again next year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Another club that hopefully should be going again next season is the Gooners, your Arsenal. Uh, mm, Surprising result last week. Really surprising. And I did not expect that. Now, albeit it's a slender lead that PSG have got, but bit of a mountain to climb. So, as an Arsenal fan, what are your thoughts? I mean, are you resigned to defeat, or do you think there's still hope?
I mean, if sport at its highest level, Ayub, is this is competition at its finest. I mean, you don't. This is not for the weak-hearted. That you get to such occasions and think, well, this is it. It was a good run, as they say. No,
Mm,
you get to these moments, you get to these occasions, and you try and overcome some adversity. And no doubt, Arsenal have some adversity in front of them. The quarterfinals couldn't have gone uh, any better. They scored three at home, scored the first goal at the Bernabeu, and by all intents and purposes, although there was that mistake from Saliba and Vinicius scored, Arsenal, for the most part, were in control, weren't they, over the
mm,
course of 190 odd minutes, and well deserved winners. I think nobody would dispute that. Against PSG, however, very different affair. We said it. I mean, you've seen them up close and personal, but even you've not perhaps seen them in terms of the form that they were in. Perhaps that City result that you were at was, in a sense, the turning point, which that really got their season going. I mean, they only lost for the first time in the league just before the Arsenal game, losing their unbeaten record, looking to go unbeaten in the season, falling short in the league, obviously winning the league at canter. But last Tuesday night was a great occasion. It wasn't lost on me that this was the semi-finals, the Champions League semi-finals first leg at the Emirates, Arsenal with a chance to do something special. Um, there's a lot of rhetoric and narrative out there. I'm sure and this is not a victim's mentality, but there is unfortunately a lot of rhetoric out there about people, neutrals wanting to see Arsenal do well, but a lot of neutrals not wanting to see them do well, fans of other clubs and all the rest of it. And that's fine. That's the tribalistic nature of football. What I would say though is, in terms of the game itself, Ayub, that first 25 minutes was about as good a football as I've seen from any team at the Emirates in a long, long, long time. PSG were incredible. I knew the Partey miss was going to be a problem, the stupid yellow card that he got in the second leg when the game was done and dusted. But that was top, top football. And I found myself watching, obviously 1-0 down super early, thinking, just hang in, no matter what it takes, just hang in. Because football sport at the highest level is about hanging in. You never have a period of dominance where every game's going to be hunky dory. There are moments where you have to dig in. You often speak about it with Leeds, where you say
Mm.
that mentality that you have to show. Now, they showed it down the stretch, probably much to your surprise to some
Mm.
extent.
Yeah.
But there are times in sport and football where it's like, just hang in. The time will come. Your time's going to come. And Arsenal's time did come. You saw after the 1-0 deficit, big opportunities, Ayub, in terms of the Martinelli chances. You've got to take those at this level. For me, a slight technical flaw that I would say is that when you're going up against an incredibly tall, elite level goalkeeper, you've got to go near his feet. You can't go wide to his left and right because that's bread and butter for a goalkeeper of that particular reach, because when you're horizontal at that length, there are no corners. It just they don't exist. If you remember the Harvey Elliott goal at PSG, close to his feet, couldn't quite
Yeah.
get down to save it. And I remember at the time thinking that as well. So both him and Trossard, for me, technically, I would have gone near his feet because that's the best chance you've got. You can't get there. Tall goalkeepers can't get to that point. And then obviously the game is this storyline, isn't it? You where if you don't then get the goal, you obviously had that goal disallowed by, I guess, centimeters and what have you from Marino. You then worry as an Arsenal fan that you're gonna get caught because you're pushing, and that's exactly what happened. They conceded some great opportunities. PSG will be
Mm.
really upset that they didn't then go ahead and score a second, maybe even a third. So what I would say is overall, could have been worse, could have been better. I think that would be the overall judgment because we also had Arsenal had some great opportunities. But in terms of defeated, no, because I do believe that when it comes to winning or big things, achieving anything in life, really, I think there are some moments that you have to overcome where it's like it's looking unlikely, and it's those moments that you when it's looking unlikely, you have two choices. You can either say it's been a good run and just accept your fate, or alternatively, you can say no, everything's still there before us. We can still make this nervous, and I expect PSG, if it does get nervous, and I say if, to feel that strain, which is that, oh, it's just there, the final's just around the corner. And that's what Arsenal have to do. They have to make this incredibly confident and cohesive PSG unit, which is still young, you would argue, in terms of
Mm.
its 1 to 11, feel as though, this now feels a bit of a stretch. Do we hang on? Do we go for it? Are we leading? What are we doing? Arsenal putting us under the pump. So I would just hope, the only ask I have, I guess, from an Arsenal perspective is just go there and give it absolutely everything to try and achieve something amazing. And normally, often these tournaments, whether it's Champions League, whether it's the Premier League, there's always one game where you have to pull it out where it just looks absolutely dire, where you think it's done and dusted. And Arsenal have that before them. I feel like it's going to be one of those nights where you think it's done. Can they still pull something out of the bag? This is the question mark. I hope they can. I don't feel defeated, mainly because there's no away goal rule, so that kind of makes it still open. A draw would have been fantastic to take back, just because you start the game on an even keel. But I think they've got it all before them. Great opportunity for the players, great opportunity for the manager. I would still say it's 95 minutes to get to the Champions League final. Go out there, believe you can do it. I believe they can do it. I don't think PSG are out of this world good. I think they're really good. I don't think they're out of this world good. I think they can be got at. Um, Time will tell whether Arsenal have enough in the locker to be able to pull out one of those results, especially away in Paris. You've been in that stadium where you've told me many times it absolutely rocking at the
Yeah.
best times with the ultras and what have you. So yeah, huge opportunity for Arsenal. That's the way I see it. I see it as an opportunity, not necessarily as a kind of a one of those kind of final passage where you think, well, this is where the road ends, really.
I mean, you talked about the missed chances for PSG, and they will rue them because I mean, 2-0, 3-0, and it's virtually impossible. It's
Yep.
game over. But this almost, I mean, in a bizarre sort of way, it probably lifts the Arsenal. They're probably thinking the same that we could have been dead and buried. It's only a goal. Uh, Vice versa. PSG are thinking we should have buried the game or we should have capitalized on the chances that we created. So maybe there's some reservations on their part, thinking we had a chance and we didn't sort of we had our foot on their necks, but we didn't
Yep.
really sort of squeeze. So there could be that. The only thing I would say, the caveat to that is that these are young players. I mean, I'm not sure what the average age of Arsenal is, but I mean, PSG, it's a very young and exuberant side. Uh, and it's fearless. It's fearless. It is it's they perhaps they're not seasoned enough to know what it feels like to be in this position. It's almost as if when you're young, you almost sort of think that it doesn't matter if we don't do it this year, we'll do it next year. So you play with freedom. When you get a little bit older, or when you've got conservative coaches, they perhaps almost instill that look, this is a great opportunity. Don't let it slip. With these guys, I mean, Luis Enrique probably is the type of manager who is quite sort of. I mean, I don't know exactly what his style is, but certainly from the style of play, he's very expansive. So maybe that's his philosophy as well, that just enjoy yourself, express yourself. Uh, it's always that the key always was, and in sport, I've always thought that those who are it when you're afraid to lose, it restricts you. It sort of it almost suffocates you. I mean, I think just slightly moving
Mm,
away from football to cricket, Graham Hick and Mark Ramprakash, these were two outstanding cricket players, but it almost the fear of failure consumed them. You had Kevin Peterson, who had no fear of failure, and he went on to have a successful career. Graham Hick and Ramprakash had great county careers, but internationally they were very ordinary, very average. And it's same, I think, here as well. At the moment, these players look as if they don't care. Uh, Obviously they do, but they don't care about losing. They're not going to restrict themselves. Uh, so I would sort of say that the at the Parc des Princes, it's an electric atmosphere at the best of times for a semi-final. I mean, it's
yeah.
it's the roof is going to come off. I think that really feeds the players. Uh, I don't know what the strategy is. I mean, I'm intrigued to find out. I can't wait for the game because I really am intrigued to find out what Arteta does. I mean, I think he's a very astute coach, and I'm. Is he going to go on the front foot, or is he just going to say, "Well, look, it's only a goal. Let them come at us, and then maybe if it's still 1-0, then we start sort of pushing forward." So it's this is sometimes this is what I love about football. It's just how you approach the game. It's going to be hard. I've got to be honest. I think this PSG side will score goals. At best, Arsenal might get a draw, but it's not going to be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, look, fair enough. They are the underdogs. But I think Arteta, and look, listen, Arsenal are not in any great form. Obviously, lost at the weekend, played a strong team. Again, there's clear flaws there for me, at least in the Premier League. Maybe it suits them a little bit more in the Champions League. We've spoken about this in terms of their cautious nature. And look, he's going to play his I think, unless there's any nasty surprises, what is his best 11 that's available to him? So that's going to be the same 11 that played home and away against Real Madrid because Partey is going to be back. So I think that's the team he's going to put out there. Should give him a bit more stability in the middle of the park, you would hope, against what's going to be an incredibly lively PSG team. Obviously, incredible players everywhere, to be fair, no
Mm.
weaklings whatsoever. The one, I guess, I wouldn't say saving grace, I don't think you can call it that, is again, you went to a game that had 6 goals. They score, they concede. They don't. They're a great team that defends very well. Look, they kept a clean sheet at the Emirates. I would argue with 2 amazing saves and a kind of borderline offside goal. So they were probably deserving to concede one, I would say, in terms of the chances that Arsenal probably created. Arsenal probably should have conceded 2 or 3. But I just think Arsenal have the opportunities and will have opportunities to create certain situations to give them opportunities. And I guess it comes down in a sense to that first goal. If it goes in, when does it go in? If it's PSG, it's early and the crowd absolutely goes bananas. Arsenal will feel like it's a long, long, long way back then, especially being in away territory as well. I just think often with these things, though, Ayub, is it's a huge competition. It's a huge moment in the footballing careers of a lot of these PSG players, of course, but from an Arsenal perspective as well. And I always say that provides an opportunity in terms of what you can do, putting your name down in history. You've got 2 games, 2 incredible performances to pull out if you want to etch your name. In a sense, and go down into kind of football immortality in terms of winning this competition. I see it, yeah, as an opportunity. I wasn't too downcast. I wasn't a case of, like you said, if it was 2, 3, maybe I would have been like, yeah, okay, this is where the road ends. But it's there for them. They've got to win a
Mm.
football game. Can they win this football game? I think they can. Will they? Yes, they're underdogs, but I see it as definitely an opportunity, you because they've put themselves in a great position. Champions League semi-final, second leg, with it all to achieve. I go back to that famous Tuesday or Wednesday when you've got Liverpool obviously playing against Barcelona and they put out a 4-0 victory. Well, things aren't as dire as that right
Mm.
now. And then the very next day, good old Moggy will never forget Spurs looking dead and buried against Ajax, and Lucas
Mm.
Moura scores a hat trick, scoring in the dying embers. You got Kane coming off the bench because he wasn't playing. Pochettino in tears. I mean, this is what the moments are. These are
Yeah.
what the moments are, and Arteta will be looking to kind of reincarnate one of his. I mean, he speaks very well about Pochettino. They're very good friends. He'll be hoping to have a very similar moment in Paris at his former club. There against PSG. So all there for Arsenal. I think they've got to look at it, go there, think one huge, huge, huge performance needed. And I genuinely think the players have it in them to produce that, but they'll need a little bit of luck as well.
Can't wait. Can't wait for the two games. It really should be exciting. And on that note, uh, I think we'll sign off. We'll wish the viewers a nice evening if you're watching this in the evening. If you're watching it tomorrow, we'll have a nice day. We'll see you soon. All right. Take care. Ta-da for now.